I want all of you to imagine something. Imagine you live in a perfect city, a city that has no crime. You can walk the street at night, trust complete strangers because you know they won't harm you. Everything is nice and fun outside, and even the police have a friendly animal-like faces. You can live a peaceful life without worrying about terror attacks, robberies, assaults, or even suicide attempts. Life is perfect now, and you have nothing to worry about, right? Well, not so much. Imagine now that you had a really bad day. Maybe you lost your job, or had a fight with your girlfriend or boyfriend. Maybe you got a bad score on a test, or even something more trivial than that. This is simply one of those days you walk on the streets and you just think about punching something. And I stress the word think about, because you know you're not going to actually do it, but you think about it anyways. Suddenly, you are stopped in the streets by officers pointing strange guns at you and yelling at you to surrender. Everyone else on the street gets away from you. You are a threat now, a criminal. From that moment, you have two options. One, try to relax, and then the officers will arrest you. Or option 2, get even more anxious, and then this is going to happen to you.
You have my deepest sympathies.
Yeah, you get blown up like a piñata. Either way, you have just been judged. Welcome to the perfect society controlled by the Sibyl system. Welcome to the world of psychopaths. Hello anime fans and welcome back. I'm your host, Manga host, and today we're going to talk about one of my all-time favorite animes, Psycho-Pass. My Twitter friends already know how much I love this show, and it's time that I share my passion for it with all my YouTube friends as well. This video is just my way to offer you more content that is not Attack on Titan related. And of course, Attack on Titan will always be a major thing on my channel, but I still want to diversify and show you that I know a lot about other animes as well. So I decided the first anime I will recommend is Psycho-Pass. If you like to see more content like this on my channel, please give this video a little like. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and to turn on notification to not miss any of my future videos. So what is Psycho-Pass actually about? In the 22nd century in Japan, justice and the enforcement of it has drastically changed when Japan enforced on its citizens the Sibyl system, a system that determines the threat level of each citizen by examining their mental state for signs of criminal intent, also known as their psychopath. The bigger the criminal intentions are, the cloudier the psychopath becomes. This is a very questionable act because as the system locates a citizen with a clouded psychopath, it doesn't take into consideration his or her actions, but instead only their crime intent, mental state, and psychopath conditions, even if they didn't do something criminal. Therefore, the system can even see an attacker that is assaulting another person as just as dangerous as the person being attacked. And that is because the victim's stress levels go higher and higher as the act continues, sometimes to the point they are needed to be killed, even though they didn't actually do something wrong. And that is because their psychopaths have reached the point of no return, and from now on, the system considers them as criminals. I bet a lot of you find it similar to the movie Minority Report, but that is not actually the case here. In the movie, the crimes are determined by seeing the future, while in Psycho-Pass, the Sibyl system monitors the mental state in real time, using cameras and other sensors around the city. It cannot know if you will go insane tomorrow, but it will stop you when you'll actually have that thought or desire in your mind. But that gets even worse, because the Sibyl system doesn't only controls the law enforcement and judgment, it actually controls everything. Integrated throughout the city, the Sibyl system is in charge of classifying each citizen and even assigning a designated job for them. That means that in this city, you work and basically do what the Sibyl system tells you you are supposed to be doing. You might ask, what does the simple citizen get out of this? And that's a perfect question, because since Tokyo enforced the system, the stress levels of the entire society have lowered drastically, and for a reason. Crime level was lowered drastically, and the people didn't have to stress about work-related issues or about making decisions. That contributed to lowering the stress levels. But at the same time, it also, in some way, castrated the people by taking from them the ability to control their own lives. So when the entire population's stress levels are lower, each person that is slightly above norm is easily registered by the system, and because the system is supposed to be perfect, it takes anyone that is not like everybody else and immediately considers him as a threat. And this is the example I started this video with, when you have a really bad day. Of course, because life is gradually better for most, then the chances of you having a bad day are lower, but still, there are exceptions, and I will mention one now. The Sibyl system does a questionable job in assigning jobs as well. For example, in one episode we see a factory worker that the Sibyl system assigned him to work among people who abuse him every day. When questioning the system for assigning him to this place, the factory manager explains that maybe the Sibyl system identified this man as weak and intentionally placed him with a rough crowd, just for the purpose of stress relief for all the other workers. The system looks at it as acceptable to spare one man in order to maintain order for others, and as we see, the worker who gets bullied have a much bigger chance of having one of those bad days. That is a terrifying thought, and one which goes against everything we as a society believe in today, but that cruel system actually works for this Tokyo because at the cost of a few, the majority of society gets to live a comfortable life. So this is the Sibyl system. That is basically the one entity controlling and deciding everything in the city. And in this show, we focus mainly on the police force. In order to enforce the word of the Sibyl system, teams of agents are in charge of keeping the peace. Those agents are called investigators, and they are also in charge of a team of people called enforcers. The enforcers are actually former criminals that their psychopath has been clouded, and instead of prison, they get some sort of freedom in exchange for being the hunting dog for catching criminals like themselves. They have limited rights, and they are under the investigators' command. Each one of them has a special gun, called the Dominator. The Dominators are connected directly to the Sibyl system, and each gun user can actually hear the Sibyl system when he holds the gun. Each gun has 3 modes. Safety on, when you cannot shoot. Paralyzer mode, that paralyzes the target for easy capture. And of course, lethal eliminator mode, which a single shot can easily blow entire body parts. But there is a twist here. The inspectors and enforcers aren't actually in charge of deciding anything. They are in charge of pointing the gun and pulling the trigger, but only at the command of the system that controls the gun. The Sibyl system decides the threat level of the target and also decides what needs to be done by controlling the gun trigger and just telling the user what to do. This raises the question of who really enforces the law, the person pointing the gun or the Sibyl system. But what happens when the system decision doesn't fit your own? And one bigger question, what happens if the system cannot judge someone? That is the main concept of psychopaths, the idea and definition of justice, and what society will agree to sacrifice in order to achieve it. Would you sacrifice the ability to tell from right and wrong? Good or bad? Choose your own future, your job, your own house? This is exactly the situation in this show, where people are no longer in charge of validating other people, or even themselves, and instead, a mysterious system does that for them, and in return, it gives most of the people a better environment to live in. Of course, like we've seen before, here and there you see people acting out of norm, and get punished for that, and that is acceptable sacrifice in the eye of the system. Here, our main character, Akane Tsunemori, comes into the picture. Akane is a young inspector with an honest desire to uphold justice, but as she works alongside veteran enforcer Shinya Kogomi, she soon learns that the Sibyl system judgments are not as perfect as all the other inspectors assume. And if that is true, what does it mean about the entire system? With every case and every new discovery she makes, Akane struggles with the questions of what justice really is and whether it can even be upheld by a system that may be corrupt. Akane will do everything in her power in order to find an answer to those questions, and in the process, she will finally get to realize what the Sibyl system really is. Of course, I will not tell you that here, that is a major spoiler, and I really would like you to give this anime a chance. This anime is not one of my favorite for no reason. This story and very unique world and society have interested me from the very first episode, and like the main characters Akane, you will also find yourself facing certain situations that will make you question yourself as well. It is dark, cruel, and very well written. It has an array of very different characters, each with their own desires and sets of beliefs. Besides that, the fighting scenes are absolutely top-notch and follow with amazing soundtrack and a lot of exploding people. Psycho-Pass is an amazing anime that tells a really original story in a very unique cyberpunk world and comes to show the less perfect side of what it seems to be a perfect society. I cannot stress enough how much you should watch this one, especially if you are a fan of dark psychological thrillers. If you start watching and you think it is a bit slow, don't worry, the pacing is great and builds up a bigger story in the background without you even noticing, and I promise you it will speed up real soon. By now you can enjoy 3 full seasons of the show when the last season aired in 2019. You can also find 3 OVAs representing 3 different cases, each is about an hour long. But I would recommend you to watch the first seasons before diving into the OVAs, which in my opinion are much more complex. If you enjoyed this video, or you just love Psycho-Pass and you want to see more videos about it and about the characters, don't forget to let me know. Don't forget to give this video a little like and subscribe for future videos. You can also find me on any of your favorite social medias, and I always so happy hearing from you there, so don't forget to follow me. And if you want to help and support my channel, feel free checking out my new Patreon page as well. And that is all for this video, my anime friends, and I will see you all real soon in another Manga Horse video. And don't forget to dedicate your hearts for humanity, even if you live in a world where the Sibyl system tells you what you can and cannot do.